All right, we are in the stream. Hopefully everything is working correctly. It's showing me that the stream status is bad, which I have no idea what to do about, but let me know if you can hear me all right. Hello everybody, and while we are just getting everything figured out, let me know if you can hear me well, and also let me know where in the world you are. If you want to share what country you're in, if you're in the United States, what state. I always think it's fun to see how global we are with this issue. Hi everybody. It's good to see everybody again. It's been a long time since I've done one of these public live streams. I've been doing live drop-in groups for free on the Sex and Relationship Healing website, but this is the first live stream event on YouTube in several months. It's good to be back. I'm going to be wanting to talk for about an hour probably, so I want to answer everyone's questions that I can. We got one person from Korea, or at least he's Korean, I'm not sure where he is. One person from India, you can hear me perfect, good, good, good. From Israel, Michigan, US of A. I'm doing well, guys. How are you? Yeah, it's been quite an interesting year for me. A lot of fun. Summertime is my favorite time of the year. I like to get out into nature, it's sort of my temple. I like to go to the rivers, I like to swim. I like to get on my motorcycle and go on adventures. Got Hungary, we've got South Africa. So we've got California. So right now we've got North America, we've got Africa, we've got, I think we got Europe, we got Asia. I haven't seen South America yet. Got Los Angeles, California. UK, yeah, there's Europe for sure. Or I don't know, after Brexit, does it still count as Europe? I myself am in Portland, Oregon, on the west coast in the beautiful Pacific Northwest of the US. All right, so let's get started with the real content. I'm just going to start by reading a little passage from a book that I've been reading this year that I can recommend to all of you. It's called Gifts of Recovery, and it's a daily reader for people who are in recovery from sex and porn addiction. And each day it's just one page, maybe half a page of wisdom that you can look to when you are, needing something to think about, needing something to hold on to remain on the path toward a better future for yourself. So, for August 24th, the reading is this. We create in our life what we hold in our mind. We are often the determining factor in what comes our way in life. If we expect to get the short end of the stick, we unconsciously act in ways that make this experience more likely. If we expect to be treated respectfully, we unconsciously act in ways that make this more likely. While we cannot control others or absolutely control the outcome, we can hold in our minds a picture of what we want and unconsciously do our part to make this picture a reality. What expectations have I previously held in my mind? What did those expectations create in my life? What gifts await me as I mentally create and hold on to the picture of what I want? So this is so important, I think, in recovery, because if we tell ourselves a story that we are unable to break free of an addiction or unable to recover from a sexual dysfunction or whatever aspect of our life that we are trying to change, if we don't actually believe that it's possible for us, then that story will create our reality. It's like that old saying, both the man who believes he can and the man who believes he can't are both probably right. And that's something that I think we should all hold on to, because yes, it can be hard to convince yourself in a day or in a moment that something is possible for you that you never thought was possible before. But on a day-to-day basis, taking little steps forward, you can start to believe that new story about yourself. You can start to believe that you're the kind of person who just doesn't use porn, or you're the kind of person who's confident and collected and self-assured and accepts and loves themselves. And might not believe that overnight, but over time, taking little actions that reinforce that story and the truth of that story, then it can become your truth. We got someone from Illinois, someone from Arkansas. Awesome. All right. I'll answer a couple questions here. My first question, what are you by profession? Well, I am an addiction and sexual dysfunction recovery coach, and that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, is working one-on-one with people who are struggling with these issues. And yeah, you can learn more about that on my website, addictedtointernetporn.com. It's not the only thing I do. I like variety in my life, so I do some other things for money, but that's my main focus and my main profession is my own business. Yeah. Geyer Grimsrud says, I want to incorporate a daily reader like that. And that's very good. I think you should. Let me read you that title again and the author so you all can look into it. It's called Gifts of Recovery, Daily Meditations for Men and Women in Recovery from Sex Addiction by Timothy D. Stein. There are a couple of daily readers out there for recovery from sex and porn addiction, but this has been my favorite that I've found so far. MKR asks, why don't you upload videos every week? Yeah, I'd like to upload more often. Apologize to you guys for not being a more frequent uploader. Making videos and editing videos takes time, and I'm getting better at the editing aspect, which takes the most time. And I think I'll be able to put out more videos. I think my goal for right now is 2 Coach Church videos per month, plus a live stream every month. I'd like to get back into doing this monthly. So we'll see where it goes from there. Do you feel that there is awareness growing about harm of this addiction in people in the US, or very less person know it? I think I know what that means. I think there is awareness growing about this issue. I think we're up to 16 states now that have passed legislation recognizing pornography as a public health crisis, and recognizing that there needs to be more research into how consistent pornography use affects people, and how we can help those people who have developed problems, and how we can educate people before they develop problems so that they can make well-informed choices. And that's a big step forward. That's offering legitimacy to the issue. And while those pieces of legislation don't actively do anything about the issue by themselves, yes, they are a huge step forward. And I think, unfortunately, as far as I know, all those states are red states so far, just because I believe that Republican states might have more bias against pornography for other reasons aside from actual health, sexual health and emotional health, personal health. And so they're more open to the idea that pornography is a public health crisis, but this truly is a nonpartisan issue. And we all, no matter what our party affiliation, our politics, we can recognize that pornography can cause health issues and relationship issues, and we need to educate our children and protect our children against those things, no matter what our other beliefs. I think we can all get behind that, and that's what I'd like to see, is people recognize that this pornography certainly is a moral issue, and we can talk about the morality of pornography all we want, but regardless of that, it is a health hazard for a lot of people. Not to say that it's going to hurt everyone who uses it, much like alcohol or marijuana, gambling, other substances, and addictive behaviors like that. It's not going to hurt everyone who engages in it, but it's going to hurt a significant portion of the people who do. And so we have to learn about it and address it. And in the UK, I saw a couple people from the UK. I don't think that it's instituted yet, but it did pass, and it is, as far as I know, on the road to being put into action, is that meaningful age verification for adult pornography websites. And that means that if I want to see a porn website and I live in the UK, I have to prove to a third-party company that I'm over 18. And that third-party company just sends a check mark, yes, Noah is over 18, he can view this content, or no, Noah isn't. And that way, it's not perfect, but it's a step forward toward protecting minors against seeing content that they're certainly not ready to see and getting hooked on this before they've ever even maybe had a kiss or had a real relationship. And that I think is an important step forward too, and I'm excited to see how it works out there. There have been delays already. It was supposed to be in effect months ago, so we'll see how it goes. Fernando asks, no, I've been addicted since I was 12. I'm 21 now. It's been 215 days since I started reboot hard mode. I no longer have ED. However, I think my sexual desire is still low to real partners. Yeah, well, congratulations, man. 215 days is huge, and I hope it's the foundation for the rest of your life. I hope that you aren't despairing because you're not yet where you want to be. 215 days is great, and you say that you no longer have ED, which is super significant progress. But people continue seeing progress for much longer than 215 days. Most of us do. Even if we've already gotten over the PIED, we can still see a lot more progress in sensitivity and in libido and in the strength of our sexual desire after that. So you might not yet be at your new normal. You might still have more progress to see. So continue on, be in touch, let me know how it goes. How old am I? How long have I gone without PMO? I am 29, coming on 30 pretty soon. I started my journey when I was 24, and it wasn't a perfect journey. I went through my own period of relapses, and the last time, yeah, that period of relapses was mostly in 2015. So yeah, it's been several years since the last PMO, and yeah, life is a lot different than it used to be, and for the better in every way. And there was a lot of things that I had to learn about myself, and I had to recognize how addicted I was in order to really move forward, and in order to actually understand what I needed in order to stay clean permanently. Because I was caught in that cycle that I see so many people caught in, of abstinent, clean for a few weeks, a few months, but then something happens and the cycle starts again. Relapse, shame, guilt, motivation, clean, trigger, relapse, shame, guilt, yada yada. Fastest way to recover from ED, medication or exercise? So I get a lot of people asking, what can I do to speed up my recovery beyond just the basics? And the basics being complete abstinence from pornography, and if you really want to recover from ED as quickly as possible, I recommend complete abstinence from sexual self-touch, masturbation, edging, and only allow yourself sexual outlet, sexual release with your partner. And if you're not able to do it with your partner, there's no harm in continuing to try, as long as you're not forcing it, or as long as it's not creating unrest, discord between you and your partner, or causing you greater and greater anxiety or shame. As long as none of that is happening and you're still able to enjoy yourself and have a good time trying and failing and enjoying intimacy in other ways, then there's no reason not to continue to try. But that is the fastest way to recover. And as far as supplements or medication, there's nothing that I recommend, because some of that stuff can be dangerous. Some of it can have side effects. Some of it's possible it might help, I don't know. But none of it should be necessary unless you actually have some sort of nutritional deficiency that you need a doctor prescribed a supplement for, a medication for, that might be having an effect on your sex drive. But that's pretty rare. There's no horny goat weed or any sort of supplement or medication that you should need if you are the average person recovering from porn-induced ED. You just need time away from porn, and you need practice of intimacy with a partner. And however much time that takes is the time it takes. Some people having sex within a month, some people it takes close to a year or more than a year. As for exercise, general physical health is going to help you in every way. Exercise is a key part of that. And so, yeah, exercise can be good for you on recovery. It can help keep your mind off of relapse, off of pornography. It can help your mood. It can help keep you excited about life, feeling good about yourself, and moving forward. And all those things are also good for confidence and for sex drive. So yeah, exercise can help. No need to overdo it, but have an exercise routine that works for you in your life and that you enjoy. Has the porn industry addressed nofap in any way? I don't know. Honestly, I don't keep my finger on the pulse of the culture wars that closely concerning pro-porn or anti-porn. What I'm interested in is helping people who know that they have a problem and want to be helped. Like, those are the people that I'm interested in talking to. I'm not as big of a debater as Gabe Deem. He's probably got his finger on that pulse much more closely than I do, and he gets a charge off of a good debate, and I can too on the occasion, but I'm more interested in talking to you guys who know that you want to improve yourselves and want to find out how. Maj asks, is hard mode the fastest way to recover, and if so, how many days? So there's three main aspects for most people for recovery from a porn-induced sexual dysfunction. Number one is the reboot, which is abstinence from pornography, preferably abstinence from masturbation as well, and from sex, at least for an initial period of time, to build a foundation, to allow yourself, that part of yourself, just to rest and recover. So yeah, hard mode is often an important part of recovery, but saying that that's the fastest way to recover is overly simplistic because of the second part of recovery, which is rewiring, which is the practice of real intimacy of the type that you actually want in your life. And that is something that most people need quite a bit of in order to get to the point where they feel totally recovered. And that's hard mode being complete abstinence from anything sexual, self-touch, partner's touch, anything like that. And so hard mode can be an important part of recovery, but it's not like the fastest way is just be hard mode until you're better, and then like you're better, you need that rewiring period of practice. And the third aspect of recovery is something that not everyone deals with, but a lot of us deal with, which is the anxiety and the fear aspect and the emotional aspect of approaching a sexual situation. And that anxiety is something that a lot of us develop after months or years of having sexual dysfunction, because we start to dread the act of sex, we start to fear whether it's going to work or not, and all of those negative emotions can really occlude our vision of how beautiful this present moment is and can be, and just keep us from having fun and relaxing, and can keep us from getting aroused even if we're physically ready, even if we've rebooted enough. And for how long, how many days it's going to take, I usually recommend to people, depending on their situation, that they try for at least 30 days at the beginning, completely abstinent in hard mode. I think that we can all benefit greatly from that. That doesn't apply to everyone, and I don't want you to think that it does. For some people in a relationship who still want to be trying and their partner still wants to be trying, that can be fine. That 30 days complete hard mode isn't always necessary. And for other people for whom when they try to go completely abstinent from all things sexual and have relapsed because they couldn't handle that many times in the past, sometimes it's better just to focus on abstaining from pornography and perhaps continuing to masturbate porn-free in a healthful way with gentle sensation and realistic fantasy, at least for a period of time until they feel like pornography is more distant from their current self. And maybe they can handle trying being completely abstinent for a few days, for a week at first, and stretch their boundaries from there. For some people that works better. I'm probably missing questions here. There's a lot of questions coming through. I'll try to get to as many as I can. Looks like I probably won't be getting to any of the YouTube comments today because we got a lot of questions coming in. Geyer, I'm on day 2 and I've been relapsing for over 2 years, not giving up. Good, don't give up. Never stop learning, never stop growing, never stop trying new things, and don't try to do this on your own. That's the biggest piece of advice that I wish I had been able to listen to on my own, because if I had realized that I needed more help than I was getting during my period of relapses, then I would have been able to end it sooner than I did. And yeah, it's important to have the right guidance and the right support, the right understanding in your life. What that looks like differs for different people. Might be a support group, might be 12-step, might be a counselor, might be a coach. probably will include people in your life who love you, family, friends, partner, etc. But don't try to do this on your own, because addiction is a disease of isolation, and the more isolated we are, the more vulnerable we are to relapse. The more we're mired in our addiction, the more we isolate ourselves. And it's a cycle that we have to start breaking out of somehow. Do I think that pornography and smoking are similar in a way where both are seen as harmless at first, then slowly we discover the harms that they have on us? Yes, in many ways. And for many years, smoking was seen as either harmless or even healthful, as perpetuated by the tobacco industry. And it took many years and decades of consistent research showing that the harms of tobacco smoking and cigarette smoking were real before society as a whole accepted those facts. And now, lots of people still smoke, but not as many as used to, and at least those who do probably know that it comes with significant health hazards. And yeah, I think that same cycle will be followed with pornography use. I hope that that period of time that it takes to penetrate the public consciousness and make most people aware that pornography can have real health hazards will be shorter, just because of the power of the internet and the power of the internet for sharing information and for spreading information more quickly. So that's my hope for that. Lucas, I got 38 days of nofap after 3 years. I feel so proud of me. I relapsed, but I'm starting again, never giving up on this. Good. You should be proud, and don't get caught up in the shame of letting yourself down. I know how easy it is to do that, and how easy it is to stop believing your own promises to yourself. But don't give up. And like I told the other gentleman, don't try to do this alone. Start with my book if you haven't read it yet. You can get it for free as a PDF on my website. Just subscribe to my newsletter at addictedtointernetporn.com. Kanan asks, can we get out of PIED if we stop PMO for 90 days? 90 days, of course, for years and years, it's been that number that's been thrown around. Quit porn for 90 days, quit masturbating for 90 days, you should be better. Which is true for some people, but not for everybody. And what I say, what I've seen, has led me to give this prediction for most people, which is that most people within 90 days of complete abstinence from porn, and ideally masturbation as well, or at least masturbation in moderation, see very significant progress, and within a year are completely recovered. Some people take longer than a year, some people take much less time, but that's what I've seen to be sort of the average. Significant progress in 90 days, you should notice differences. You might not. If you don't, that doesn't mean that it's not working for you, but most people see significant differences in 90 days, but still see progress and growth after 90 days. Vic, the God, says, hey man, so you really did help me out a lot. I quit watching porn and boom, I had more motivation to get a girlfriend and have goals and aspirations, and I'm so much happier now. Yeah, that's awesome, Vic. I had ED and I thought it was from porn, but it was actually from venous leak, and I got it checked at the doctor. Now I take Cialis and I'm perfectly happy now. All right, yeah, it's not always porn-induced ED, or sometimes it's a combination of PIED and something else. But what many of us realize is that there are many more reasons to abstain from pornography in our lives than just curing ourselves of a sexual dysfunction. That's certainly what I realized, that every aspect of my life is better without porn. And that doesn't mean that that's true for everyone. For some people, porn doesn't have a negative effect on them, and abstaining from it might not significantly improve their lives. But for many of us, it's very much true that we have a lot to gain from becoming porn-free. Geyer asks, what's your diet like and daily routine? Well, my daily routine is rather regimented. I use a system that I developed for myself and that I recommend to clients, in which I print out a piece of paper every single night, and at the top of this piece of paper is a letter to myself that I read in the morning. This just reminds me of what's important to me, lessons that I want to remember, goals that I have, so that I can remain mindful and aware of where I'm heading in life. And then below that are rules that I have for myself that I realize I need to live by in order to stay on the path that I want to be on. rules like, for example, one is don't overeat, like eat till I'm satisfied but not till I'm stuffed, because that was a pattern that I used to have, overeating and then feeling bad afterwards. So that's just one rule that I have. And then I have a list of daily necessary activities that I do every single day, or I strive to do every single day, including writing in my journal, including brainstorming 5 ideas about anything just to keep my creativity going, including reading in that daily reader, exercising, meditating, reading some sort of self-improvement or self-development text, resolving all my messages that I've been getting as much as possible, as much as I can, and a few others as well. And then I print out a list of everything I want to accomplish specifically in that day. So that way, in the morning when I wake up, I look at this thing first, and I know exactly what I'm going to do that day. I know exactly where I'm headed. And it's a way for me to design my own life. And as far as diet, I have been on a purely plant-based diet for the last almost 10 years now. That means nothing from animals, no meat, no fish, no dairy, no eggs, and feel fucking awesome. Yeah, I started it just out of curiosity about 10 years ago. Always interested in what the healthiest diet was, what would cause me to feel the best, and felt great after starting it. Never saw a reason to go back. So that's what I do. Whole foods, plant-based. Of course, there are ways to eat plant-based that are still unhealthy. Lots of processed foods. If I'm eating chips and donuts all day, it'd still be unhealthy. But yeah, usually just naturally kind of do intermittent fasting, if you guys know what that is. Basically having a smaller eating window in your day than most people do. So I usually don't eat until afternoon. Then I might have a big smoothie of fruit and vegetables and snack throughout the day, have a bigger dinner at night. Kanan asks, will Cialis increase libido? It can, yeah. I mean, those drugs work. They can make it easier to get and maintain an erection, which can increase your sensation or perception of libido as well. But there are a lot of side effects there, and that's not something that you want to become reliant on if it's not something that you actually need. If you have a medically diagnosed condition that requires the use of Cialis or Viagra or some of these other ED medications to perform sexually in a healthful way, then that's one thing. But if you're on a recovery from PIED, then Cialis is not necessary and can in fact delay your real actual recovery. Because it's like you have an injury, you sprained your ankle real bad. What you should be doing is resting it, elevating it, giving yourself time to heal, and then slowly starting to walk on it again and exercise it. But taking Cialis for PIED is like taking a painkiller for that sprained ankle and just running on it again. It's not actually going to help you heal. It can delay your healing. And it can create a psychological dependency where you think you're not able to have sex without it, and that can create its own problems. Maj asks, I have PIED and I'm married and I've been taking Viagra. Should I keep taking it or stop? There's a lot of factors that go into that. If I was in your position and I was married, I would want my wife to know what I was going through. I'd want her to know about this journey. And I don't know if she does. I don't know if she knows that you take Viagra or knows about PIED. But if she did, then I would want to heal myself in a way that I could get to the point where I don't need Viagra to perform sexually. And yeah, consult with your doctor, of course, about stopping to take it. I don't think there's any risks about ceasing your use. But yeah, if you are reliant on Viagra and you have PIED, and the PIED is the only reason you need the Viagra, then the only way to truly recover is to stop taking the Viagra and recover, let your body recover in its own time. And it might be hard, it might be difficult for a while. You might not be able to have sex when you and your wife are both used to it because of the Viagra. But you can take advantage of that time to be intimate in other ways, get to know each other better in other ways, and allow your body the time it needs to recover. I'm from India and I want to meet you in real life. Would you like to meet with me if I wanted to come to the US? I don't know. I don't usually meet strangers off the internet, no offense to you. I do offer local in-person coaching to people who happen to live in my area. But other than that, I don't usually meet people. I have been recognized in public a couple of times, which is kind of cool, and then talked with people and met people that way. Tom asks, did you struggle with an internet and or phone addiction as well? I have a hard time with this as well. Yeah, my pornography addiction was part of a larger just addiction to technological escapism. And for me, that was usually took the form of video games and or movies and TV, binging Netflix, stuff like that. Anything I could use to distract myself and just escape. And it was often paired with pornography use. So I might play video games for hours and then get the urge for PMO and do that. And they were complementary. You know, when I was sated from PMO use, I could then use video games or TV, just waste a lot of time, just escape from my life and my problems. And so, yeah, it was all part of the same pattern. And while I found that there is no healthy use of pornography for me, there's no moderation in pornography, like that doesn't belong in my life whatsoever at all. That's not necessarily true for those other things like watching TV or movies or playing video games, but we all need to have rules that we follow about that use so that we aren't using it in an unhealthful way, and so that after you're finished, you don't feel bad about yourself. That's really the barometer that I use to determine if something is healthy for me or not. After I'm done, do I feel bad about myself or do I feel good? Do I feel fine? And for me, that means I can play video games if I want to, or watch TV or movies if I want to, but only if I've finished everything that I set out to do on that day already. And that means finishing that page that I told you about before. And usually that means I don't watch TV or play video games, because what I've found is that most of the time I don't have the urge to after having a good day, after finishing everything that I wanted to do, because the urge to do those things usually comes from not feeling good. And so usually I'll just hang out with friends or I'll read a book, but sometimes I still watch Netflix or whatever, sure. And many of us can get to a healthy use of technology in that way, as long as whatever was primary about that addiction is out of our lives, which for most of us is pornography. What do you usually do when you get an urge, and how do I stop myself from peaking and edging? If you're talking about me personally, then I don't really get urges anymore. It's been quite a long time since I got an urge for pornography, and that's great. We can all get to that point. It takes a long time, and sometimes it feels like those urges will never leave, but I can tell you that it does get easier. And there are many, many things that I can recommend for you to deal with urges, and a lot of them are in my book. Again, get it for free as a PDF on my website. Subscribe to my newsletter, addictedtointernetporn.com. But one tool that I recommend a lot to people is some sort of accountability software. And this is something like Ever Accountable or Covenant Eyes, something that you install on all your devices. And they might have a blocker or a filter included that actually blocks you from viewing pornographic websites. But the most important part of them is that accountability aspect. So you can select accountability partners or allies to receive reports on your browsing activity. And if there's anything suspicious that's flagged, they'll receive a report on it. In Covenant Eyes, it works a little bit differently. It actually takes a screenshot of your screen about every minute and analyzes it using an algorithm to see if it's potentially pornographic or not. And if it is, then it will send a blurred version of that screenshot to your accountability partners. And that way you know that whatever you do online, it's not in secret and it's not in isolation. And it makes it a lot easier to just see pornography use as not an option and not give in to those urges, especially if your partners are people that you really wouldn't want seeing your pornography use. I use it myself. I've used it for a long time. My partners are my best friend, my sister, and my mother. So certainly not people that I'd want to see any sort of pornographic activity. So if there ever is an urge, then that's a very good motivator not to follow through on it. Got a couple questions here about PE, meaning premature ejaculation, pretty sure. Alex asks, can you talk about if NoFap is good for curing PE? Kingdom Media asks, what's your thoughts on PE? Also, can NoFap actually cure PE or make it worse? So yeah, premature ejaculation is definitely something that is able to be porn-induced. But a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what qualifies as premature ejaculation. Some people, like if they start having sex and 3 minutes later they have an orgasm, they think that's premature ejaculation, but that's actually within the normal range, and it takes a short amount of time to be really diagnosed or considered premature ejaculation. But given that a lot of us grew up or spent many years watching pornography in which they're going for 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes, then 3 or 5 minutes can seem like premature ejaculation, but that's actually just altered perception based on what we've seen in pornography that's really not reflective of what real sex usually looks like. But yeah, premature ejaculation, some people do experience premature ejaculation that is porn-induced. Some people experience it at the same time as erectile dysfunction, and they might have a really difficult time getting an erection, but once they do, they reach orgasm very quickly. And many people do experience fluctuations in PE when they're on a streak, when they're abstinent from pornography and masturbation. Some people who've never experienced it before might find that they're all of a sudden way more sensitive and experiencing it for the first time. But that doesn't mean it's permanent for those people. They just have to get used to having consistent, successful sex, and usually it goes away. They're able to manage it. For other people who have premature ejaculation because of their porn use, then it can definitely improve over time. There's a couple testimonials in my book about that, about people improving premature ejaculation over time with abstinence from pornography and this recovery from porn-induced sexual dysfunction. So yes, give it time, give it a shot. It can improve on its own. There are also things that you can do consciously to help prevent premature ejaculation and help yourself continue going for longer. Things like remaining relaxed is really important. Focusing on deep, regular breaths to keep yourself relaxed, because anxiety or overexcitement can cause premature ejaculation. And taking a break if you feel like you're getting too close. Taking a break for a couple of minutes, chatting, letting yourself relax, calm down, and then starting again. Ted asks, how can we speak to you directly? Glad you asked. I offer my services as a coach, as a consultant on these issues. You can find me at addictedtointernetporn.com. Click the Get My Help tab. You can learn all about how to work with me. All right, searching for some questions I missed now, back in the chat. Lyda asked, off topic, but do you know where my profile picture is from? Well, on my screen, your profile picture is like 2 millimeters across, so it just looks like a black and red blur. Alright, El Toro Fitness asked, does Instagram and Snapchat and Tinder have bad effects on a rebooter's brain? There's no blanket statement I can say about that. For some people it might be part of their harmful use of technology, and for other people not so much. But yes, apps and social media platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, and Tinder are designed to keep you swiping, clicking, tapping. They're designed to have you hooked. They're designed to continually give you that little spike of dopamine that keeps you on their app. And yeah, they're literally designed to be as addictive as possible. And if you find yourself using these apps, using these social media platforms in ways that feel like you're just following that dopamine trail wherever it leads, and afterwards you feel like, oh, well, what just happened? You feel like you're in a fog and you're finally raising above it and realizing you've wasted 2 hours. then yeah, it can have negative effects on your recovery and on your development as a person, because it's part of that same process of giving into that temptation, giving into your impulses that pornography use has trained in us. And it's not the same. If there's no sexual element, it's not the same, but it is similar, and it can prevent you from developing your own willpower in a way that you might be able to without those apps in your life. And maybe there's in the future a healthy use of those apps for you if you're currently using them in an unhealthful way. But you could benefit from a period of abstinence from them and some introspection about what you actually want out of those applications. I use social media. I enjoy social media. I use them to connect with people, to organize events, to meet with people in real life. And without social media, then my social life would be a lot harder to coordinate, be a lot less vibrant, and I think my life would actually be worse without social media. But other people use it in a way that makes their life worse. Oh, it's from Prototype 2. I think that's a video game. I'm not that much of a gamer anymore. I used to be much more than I am now, but I never was that extreme into it, except for a couple of games that really hooked me in. Are you currently in a relationship, and how long did it take for PIED to go away for you? So I was able to have sex for the first time after about 2.5 months of abstinence from porn, and that's in my book, and it continued to get better from there. I still had PIED, I still wasn't perfect, still had delayed ejaculation, and it took to where probably about 9-10 months before I felt like I was really consistently able to have wonderful sex and enjoy it to the level that I thought I should be able to enjoy it. And yeah, I've been in several relationships since then, dated a lot. I don't really like to talk about my personal life or my dating life as it currently stands so much anymore. I was very open about where it was back when I wrote my book and throughout that period of my life, but now I like to keep it more private, so that's what I'm going to do. Michael asks, why is it difficult to abstain after a relapse? Any tips? Well, there's a lot of reasons. One is the chaser effect. After we have an orgasm for the first time in a while, it tends to increase our libido and our sex drive for the next few days afterwards. And that can be a good thing if you're rewiring and you had a sexual experience and now you're ready to go again and have some more fun times with your partner. But it can also be a negative thing, because even after an orgasm that's not with pornography, it can create greater libido and sex drive and actually greater urges for porn, because a lot of us, our conditioning is still for porn even after we start having sex, and porn can be the first thing we think of when we're horny, when we're aroused, because it's the first thing that we went to for so many years. Another reason it can be difficult to abstain after a relapse is that you feel like, I've already lost it all, might as well enjoy the bottom while I'm here. Might as well binge because I feel like I've already toppled the tower and I have to rebuild it again anyway. So yeah, I might as well just start in a few days rather than today. And that's very self-destructive line of thought, and it's very much not true. Just because you had one slip or one use of pornography and masturbation or more, it doesn't mean that you're completely back at zero, and it doesn't mean that more relapse and binging is not going to cause further harm. And so we have to be really aware of the lies that we tell ourselves in order to get ourselves to use, because that's what addicted people do. And we rationalize to ourselves all these reasons why it's okay and it's fine to use, but those reasons don't actually make sense. And so it can really help. An exercise that I have people do sometimes is, when they're clear-minded, write down all the rationalizations they've ever used to get themselves to use porn, and then write down the truth, what the truth of the matter actually is. And then the next time you have one of those rationalizations come up in your mind, maybe you can recognize it for the lie that it is. What do I think about Q exposure therapy? I believe you're talking about the like exposure response prevention therapy, which means basically exposing you to a cue that would lead to a craving that would trigger you, but then not fulfilling that cycle. And that means maybe for porn addicts, pulling up a web browser, opening a private browser, and then like typing in a search term, but not then just like choosing to close it all down. And that would get your heart pounding, get your dopamine flowing, but then it wouldn't lead to anything. And it's true that that can retrain your brain to recognize that these certain things, like being in front of the computer with a private browser window open, don't actually lead to sexual release. And it can start to break that association between being on the computer, typing in a search term, and orgasm. And so it can start to break that association and cause those triggers to have less power over time. It's not something that I usually use or recommend in my coaching practice. I think it's best used with in-person therapy, and yeah, it can be helpful for some people, but it's not necessary. And if you want to experiment with it on your own, I mean, that's completely up to you. But I think there are better ways and better tools that make that not necessary for most people. Am I going to start doing podcasts again? I don't have any plans to. I'm going to be making videos, and I'm going to, and you can download the audio of those videos. There's ways to download YouTube audio if you'd rather just listen. Sometimes the videos are like 30 minutes in length, like the one about the 14-year-old that I made a few weeks ago. So it's basically a podcast. So if you want to just listen to those, you can download those. But I have other plans, things that I want to put out for you guys, and things that I'm excited about, but not yet ready to announce. So Hunter has heard that there are withdrawals from porn. Is this true? I'm fairly nervous about experiencing withdrawal from it. I'm on my 3rd day without it. Yes, it's absolutely true that there can be withdrawal symptoms from pornography. Not as severe as withdrawal symptoms from severe alcoholism. You know, you're not going to die purely from the withdrawal symptoms, but it can be very distressing, and it can be a wide range of symptoms. Anxiety, insomnia, panic attacks, irritability, mood swings, depression, actual physical feeling of being ill, headaches, flu-like symptoms, cravings, lack of cravings, complete lack of sexuality or the flat line, lack of libido. So yeah, there are a lot of potential withdrawal symptoms, and the acute withdrawal symptoms can last a few weeks, a few months. There can be more long-term withdrawal symptoms or post-acute withdrawal symptoms that last for much longer. These are usually more emotional, like depression, anxiety, and these aren't necessarily permanent, but they can feel permanent when you're experiencing them, and they can cause people to despair and just go back to doing what they know makes them feel good, which is pornography use. But if you can persevere and recognize that the only way to know what your real potential is, if you're going through these withdrawal symptoms, is to continue on the path, then you can get to the other side and experience a much better life. And it's like that old saying, if you're going through hell, keep going. Like, don't stop where you are, don't turn around, continue walking, and you get through to the other side. Tato asks, how can I avoid relapse from Home Alone? Yeah, there's a lot of tips I have about that. Read the book again, but the accountability software is good. Also controlling your environment in a way that makes it easier for you to remain porn-free is going to be helpful. So if you live alone, for example, maybe you don't even need an internet connection in your home. Maybe you just do all that internet work that you need to do at a cafe, at a library. If you live with others and you usually relapse on a desktop computer that's in your room, see if you can move that desktop into the common area so there are people around when you are using your desktop. There are ways to control your environment and ways to protect yourself against relapse. You can also install the accountability software, use that to its fullest potential. There are many other tips that I could give you, but if you've done all that Like those are all preemptive, preparatory things that you can do to make it easier for yourself. But if you're still done all that and are still feeling the urge, then it pays to have a plan for what you would like to do when you feel an urge. And that plan should include a way to take yourself out of that situation for a short amount of time and allow you to breathe, get some fresh air, and allow yourself time for that rational thought to rise back to the surface and let that wave of an urge pass. And that can mean put on your shoes, go out for a walk around the neighborhood. It can mean do some exercise. It can mean put on some music and dance really vibrantly. Just give it your all. Anything like that to put you in a different mood. Take your mind out of that immediate situation where you're feeling that craving and give yourself a chance to make a different choice. Alex indeed asks, what do you think about intermittent fapping? I've seen some prefer that over no fap because they're not experiencing the flatlines and emotional highs and lows a lot. So, porn-free masturbation, I don't think it's an issue that's at all black and white. And a lot of people on the NoFap platform seem to think that it is. I don't always recommend complete abstinence from porn-free masturbation because it can be helpful in moderation for some people for some various reasons. One reason can be having a sexual outlet can allow them to remain porn-free, whereas if they were trying to be completely abstinent, they might end up relapsing and thinking, well, if masturbation is just as bad as using porn, I might as well use porn because that feels a lot better. And that's simply not the case for most of us who are recovering from porn-induced problems. So it can be helpful for them. It can be helpful for people who maybe have never in their lives or hardly ever masturbated without pornography, and they don't actually know, they're not actually familiar with their own internal desires and fantasy life, and they've always just been trained by pornography as to what they find attractive, what they find arousing. So for those people, yeah, some hard mode can still be very effective in the beginning, but at some point it might be very good for them to start masturbating porn-free and exploring their own personal fantasies and what actually arouses them without the influence of pornography in their life. And yeah, you're also right that some people, if they're completely abstinent, completely without any orgasm or masturbation, then they might go into sort of a sexual hibernation and experience more flatlines. And if they want to avoid that, then they might decide, oh, I'll just masturbate a couple times a month, once a week, something like that. So it's something that we all have to experiment with and find out what works for us. Some people find that masturbation always leads them back to using porn, or might find that masturbating makes them feel worse, makes them feel bad. Some people find it's perfectly fine and it seems healthy and it's just a fun thing to do, or it might keep their sexuality in a better flow that they like. So it really is about personal experimentation. And I don't think that there should be any black and white response. Someone tells you, no, you absolutely should never be masturbating at all. Unless it's a doctor and there's some actual medical reason for that. There's some damage that you don't want to aggravate. We're going to wrap up soon, coming up on an hour for the live stream, but I'm going to be trying to do this once a month, so look for me to come back next month. And if you guys want my personal help in a more thorough capacity, you can find me again, addictedtointernetporn.com. I offer my services as a consultant, as a coach, and you can speak with me over the phone, over a video call, or if you just want to have a few questions answered, you can purchase an email consultation. But I'll answer a few more questions before I go. Day one for me, says Seb. Been battling this journey for a month and a half. Keep falling off the wagon. I do have PIED. Crying face. Sympathize with you, Seb. I've been there many times, and I'll tell you that no matter how difficult it feels right now and how distressed you feel right now, knowing that you need to do something that you find yourself not able to do, which is stay abstinent from pornography, it can get better with the right sort of guidance, with the right information, with the right support around you. It can get better. It doesn't always have to be this hard, and you can recover from PIED and remain porn-free for the rest of your life if that's what you want. And not to say that I don't expect more relapses in the future for you. If you've been relapsing consistently, probably going to relapse more in the future. That's okay. I mean, it's not okay to accept that as part of your life, but it's okay that it happens. It's okay to slip. It's okay to fall. It's okay to make mistakes. As long as we're learning from those and we use that knowledge to move forward and don't get caught in regret and shame, and allow the past to remain the present. Lida asks, can you become completely free from PMO addiction eventually, or will there always be a connection to it once you become addicted and then quit? Yes, I would say that there will always be, once an addict, always an addict. You know, I do agree with that statement. And that doesn't mean that it's always going to feel like it feels right now, or that you're going to always have the urges and the temptations that you're feeling right now, or that it's always going to be as difficult as it is right now. Like I said earlier, I don't remember the last time I had an urge for pornography. I mean, I do have them occasionally, but it's not something that's plaguing me day after day. It's not something that has to reduce the quality of your life in the future. But it is something that will always be a part of you. You know, that wiring, years of consistent internet pornography use, becoming reliant on it for an emotional salve, an emotional escape, using it compulsively, that wiring remains in our brain, and it becomes dormant, and it becomes weaker, and it can be overwritten by new patterns and new habits, new relationships in our lives, new ways of expressing ourselves sexually. But it's always going to be there, dormant, ready to be reactivated, if you're not vigilant and you're not aware of the pitfalls that you want to avoid. So don't get complacent. But that's actually, I think, a blessing in disguise, because having that fear, that danger to avoid of going back to former ways, actually keeps me sharp, keeps me sharper as a person, keeps me very aware and mindful of my life and how it's going and how I want it to go in the future. And without that negative motivation, that thing to avoid, I might not be living, the kind of life that I am now, that I really enjoy. I might not be living up to the same level that I am now. And that can be true for all of you as well. Tato says, thank you very much, Noel. You've become my hero for real. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I hope that I can help people with what I've learned. And that's all I want, is for there to be answers for the people out there who are looking for them. Answers that actually help. Noah Draper asks, what are the advantages to doing no fap for 90 days versus doing it, for example, for just 1 month? Well, what are the advantages of working out for 90 days versus just doing it for 1 month? Most people find that after 1 month of consistent exercise, they don't really notice that much of a difference. But after several months of consistent exercise, they start to notice big differences. And not to say that it's a perfect metaphor, but I think the metaphor works. 30 days just might not be enough time to notice the changes that you're looking for. And if you're just trying to experiment with this and see if it might be a lifestyle for you, see if masturbation or pornography has a negative effect on you by abstaining for it for a period of time, then yeah, start with a month, and then perhaps extend that to 90 days. And whether or not you've seen changes after a month, you might see changes after 90 days. So that's if you are just experimenting with this and seeing if it's something for you. If you know that you have a porn-induced problem, porn-induced sexual dysfunction, then continue. And no fap means different things. I'm talking about porn abstinence. So if you have a porn-induced sexual dysfunction and addiction, then lifelong sobriety from that should be the ideal. And not just 30 days, not just 90 days, not just recovering until you get your erections back and then go back to using porn sometimes, because that doesn't work. It just brings back the problem. All right, everybody. It's been wonderful. I really appreciate you all coming in and asking questions, bringing good questions. Lida asks, I hope you can upload a tiny bit more frequently. Your videos are really useful. I like your channel, the way you do your videos. I appreciate that. And I will be trying to do so. Thanks, everyone, again. And look for an announcement from me. If you don't have the notification bell clicked on my channel, please click it so you get notifications from me. You can see the next time. All right, everybody. I'm going to end the stream. right now.